In this video, we're going to be talking about Q menu in edit mode, and I'm not sure we can finish everything in one video. It's massive. There's a lot of options. Some of them we discussed already, like for example, dice or touche, but some of them are, brand new. Let's see how it goes. If it's, getting too long, I'm going to split the video in two parts. So let's get started. The first tool we're going to be discussing is going to be mark, and mark is the same as sharpen in object view, right? Well, more or less the same because we have other options, but kind of does the same thing. So if I, let's say, go here and to control tilde menu and go to sharpening, and these are default settings, so crease, b weight and sharp, and I'm going to turn off these two. So the only attribute that I'm going to add to my edges is b weight, because we're going to be using b weight in a minute. That's why I'm doing this. And I'm going to go and click on sharpen. It's going to add bevel weight to every single edge that's above 30 degrees, because that's what we have it set to, right? In order to remove these edges, what you want to do is go to edit mode, select everything, go to Q and just mark, and it's going to undo what you just did. Conversely, what you can do is go to edit mode and mark an edge or specific edges as sharp, b weight, seam, whatever you want, whatever you have specified in here, okay? Now we're gonna come back to this edge in a minute, but let's now talk about another feature of mark here. So the first one is gonna be control click to add a bevel with a V group, which is a vertex group. If you control click this, you're gonna add a bevel, right? See here. And this is just a regular bevel menu. So, go to bevel, modifier video if you want to learn all these tools and what it does. But you can just add the bevel to one edge. Why this would be beneficial? Well, now you can mirror this with, mirrors, Alt X, hold Shift to all the axes, right? And now I got a bevel on one edge that kind of, decides or determines the curvature of all these edges. And now I can add another bevel on top of this using HardOPS Q menu in object view. So I go to Q menu and control click on bevel, which is going to add a new bevel, because if you just click on Q and bevel is going to just adjust the bevel, right? So you have to control click on it to add another bevel that's going to bevel this edge. And now you can go to Q bevel and then, adjust this one, press Q, adjust this one. Really cool, right? So I use this occasionally. It's very useful. This is extremely useful when you work with sub D. Now let me show you, right? If you have something like this, for example, and you got this situation, and let me just subdivide this. So just subdivide it a few times, right? And let's say I had this one running, like this, right? But here I wanted to determine the bevel, for the sub D. So I wanted to make it really tight, right? So I'm going to select this edge and control click on it and bevel it, right? And create maybe, 3 segments by default and make it really tight. So when I'm going to run sub D on this, you see this edge is going to be beveled really smoothly, right? But this was going to remain tight because I got geometry holding the bevel. If I untoggle this bevel, it's going to curve it the same as in here. So you can define the edges on your sub D using that feature. It's really useful. So, there you go. Let's keep going. All right, so next one is going to be, what is it? Edit mesh tools. Yeah, this one is kind of, redundant right now. In fact, always was. This is a tool developed by a guy who actually is not in HardOPS in Team C anymore. And they developed this tool and never really finished it, never really polished it. And now you have another tool, another add-on from them, from Team C, called NSolve. And this tool, Edit Mesh tool, was designed for cleaning topology. Like, for example, if you press J, right, you can drag vertices, two vertices, and create edges like this to quickly join them together, And you got other options here, etc. I'm not going to be explaining this entire menu because honestly, no one is using this tool. But that's for what it's for. But if you want a tool that you want to use for retopologizing, so converting n-gon mesh to quad mesh, get NSolve because it's really good. It's literally made for that purpose, right? So I have a video on YouTube on this add-on, so go ahead and watch it and you will know how to use it, all right? So, don't worry really about this tool. I don't think anyone is using this, especially now that we have NSolve. So Next one's gonna be adjust bevel weight. So let's go back to our edge with B weight, which is this one, right? And let's run just a regular bevel on the entire mesh. And I'm going to switch this here to bevel weight, right? And now I'm going to make this bevel a bit larger. So you see, and maybe add like 9 segments. So you see now this bevel affects only this edge, right? Just like this control click on mark, which affects on the one edge. And the reason why it's doing it is because it's limited to vertex group, right? This one, what is it? This one, right? This bevel here is limited to vertex group. You can go here and see HardOPS creates a vertex group for each of these, right? You're gonna have a new group, you see that? That's how this bevel works. Now you can adjust it by adjusting the bevel weight. So you can either adjust the width of the bevel using bevel settings here, or you can change the bevel weight here under tool, under item, this one, right? See that? Now you can do this by going to mark, so you don't have to go to this menu. Let me just switch this off so the end panel doesn't slide away when I'm going to be using it. So go to Q menu, and then if you go into Alt click on this mark, you're gonna be able to adjust the bevel weight. You see that here? The value is changing. So that's what it's for, okay? Well, there you go. And the last one, which is, let me see here, I think it's Shift Control click, right? Yeah, it's a world modifier. So you can access this in 2 ways. One of them would be to go here, so select these 2 edges, and go here to modify and weld. It's the same thing. Or Control Shift click on mark, and it's going to add a weld modifier. You see that you can collapse these edges. You know, if you're going to select more edges, you're going to be able to collapse more edges, right? Boom, right? To almost if I select all of them, you can change it to a chamfer. Watch. See, boom, chamfer, right? You know, it's a live modifier, so you can still undo that, right? But if you apply this, whoops, if you apply this, you're gonna be, you're gonna end up with this kind of a mesh. So that's what weld is for. If you have like a boolean with bevels and sometimes you got issues, you can use weld to weld vertices together to kind of contain the shading problems and solve some issues on the mesh. So that will be everything you need to know about mark. Bevel we already talked about. It's nothing really special. If you're gonna click here and with one edge selected, it's gonna bevel one edge. If you have 3 edges selected, it's gonna bevel 3 edges. So that's how it works, okay? Next tool is gonna be weld. We talked about it. Lattice. This one is freaking cool. So watch this. Let's go here and let's subdivide this face. We could also run lattice. The dice if you wanted to. So you could just select the face, go to top view. Go to Q menu and just run a dice V2 and scroll, right? And then we're going to select these and expand the selection a little bit. It's not in the middle, is it? Let's just try to make this in the middle, more or less. It's going to be hard to find the middle. Well, let's say that's the middle, okay? Expand a little bit, and then we're going to run a lattice on this. So watch. Modifier and lattice. So you're gonna have a very local lattice running on this mesh. That's a lattice modifier, okay? And it's attached to this plane. So now I can go to Q menu and run some, edges on X, then on Y. So click and move your mouse. Then go to edit mode, select these, right? Take on the proportional editing here. So O and then G, scroll your mouse, right? And then Z. And you can do something like this, right? Which is pretty cool. So let's hide the lattice, and then we can run a sub D on this. So Control 3, right? And you got something like this. So you could create some interesting stuff locally in terms of deformation for sub D. Okay, that's what I would use it for. Okay, cool. Next one. So let's go to next modifier, which is gonna be hook. Well, this one is also interesting. So again, let's just subdivide this face, all right? Or in fact, let me think. Yeah, I think that's fine. Let's just dice this. So let's go with y-axis as well, and let's dice this, okay. And then, actually, I don't want the sides, I just want the top, so let's go to dice v2 again, so v, boom, that's it. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna select just these, right, okay. And we're gonna go here and run a hook modifier, so hook. This is gonna create an empty, and with this empty, you can move just these verts up and down. So for example, if you have a bevel running on this, so Z, scroll down to 3 segments, and P to flex it, and then A to create this kind of parameter around sub D, Control 2 to run a sub D. You need to nuke the auto smooth, yeah? Because auto smooth is gonna interfere with sub D, right? And then watch, since we have a sub D on this mesh, I can just, now deform this one, yeah, to whatever I want. I can do something like this, which is pretty cool for creating details if you want to, right, really easily. So, that's what you can use a hook for, if you want to. Now, next one, let's talk about next modifier here, is gonna be mask. Well, this one's gonna mask part of your mesh. So if I subdivide it, right, and let's say I was working on just a part of the mesh, so if I'm going to press Ctrl plus like this and Ctrl I to invert it, and I wanted to mask this, it's gonna mask the whole face because it's gonna work off of the verts. So if I click here, right, and then you're gonna go to object view, you see the whole face gonna disappear because I'm working off of vertex group, which means it removes all these vertices, just like as if you were literally deleting that face, right? You can also use it on armature, but I don't do animations, so I have no clue how it works, but I'm guessing it's gonna hide bones, right, from the armature, because, that's logically what it will do. But there you go, that's how mask works. I mean, it's interesting because, in object mode, this is gonna disappear, but honestly, you can do the same thing with H, which is gonna do the same thing, so, I mean, there you go, it's there if you need it. Right, cool. Next one is going to be mirror. Well, you know how mirror works, and mirror can work in, in edit mode as well. So if you have, you're cutting things in edit mode, you can just use alt X mirror in edit mode. It's the same thing, same modifier, and nothing changes really. So there you go. You can use, mirror in edit mode. Now here's smooth. This smooth modifier is going to be similar to this hook thing in a way. So let's say I have a subdivision here, and I'm gonna, let me just grab these, and I'm gonna pull them out here on X, right? And I'm going to select this whole cube and subdivide it maybe one more time. So subdivide it, okay? And I'm going to select these, and I'm gonna expand it by 1. And I'm gonna go here to modifier and smooth. Is going to smooth, you see that? It's going to smooth this transition here between the edges, so the angles, right? If I toggle it on and off, you see what it does. So it creates kind of like a localized subdivision. If you smooth this, it's going to get smoother, right? So, use it if you need it. Now, next one is decimate, and I don't think it's working in edit mode as intended, because technically also this function here, which is this one, shift click, which is supposed to be adding decimate with and subdivide on doesn't work, because this should be on instead, right? Because if you want to subdivide your mesh, so you see we got these cubes, they the same density, right? So watch what happens when I'm going to apply this mesh here. Go to unsubdivide, 2 levels, okay, because I want to set it to 2, and then, or more if you want to, subdivide it more, and then click apply. You're going to decimate this mesh, which means you're going to lower the density of the mesh to this, okay? So that's what decimate does. And I don't think it's working properly in edit mode, so, just don't worry about it. You should be decimating a face locally, but it doesn't do it. Cool, next one is gonna be curve extract. Well, we talked about it already, but in edit mode, it's a little bit different, right? So in edit mode, usually the way we use it is we select faces, and then we go to Q and shift curve extract, which is going to extract a panel. So useful. I mean, I'm using it all the time when I'm modeling hard surface. It's fantastic for creating details, because you can, on top of this, you can run cuts, and you're gonna get really cool stuff like this, right? When you can just, run cuts in that fashion, then, run a mirror on it, whatever. You can very quickly create some really cool shapes, buildings, whatnot, So yeah, this one is fantastic, yeah. So shift click on the face. This is something I'm using in every single modeling video probably. Right now, control click is going to be new object from selection. So you're going to be ripping off of whatever you selected. So if I wanted to control click this, I'm going to be ripping off these faces. So it's like going in Blender, pressing Shift D, canceling, and pressing P and by loose parts, which is going to create, you know, this panel here on top, right? Same thing, okay? So that's what it does, it's quicker. Now, next one is going to be destructive curve, which is, you know, really easy. In edit mode, you select the face or edge, whatever, and you alt click this and it's going to remove the face and instead run a curve. And the last one is going to be destructive, but it's going to be creating a plating. So you select the face and you don't create a curve, but you create a plating. So if you hold Alt and Shift, it's going to create a plating. So it's going to rip off of this face, right? Convert it into its own object because that's a separate object. You see they have different origin points. And solidify it, and this solidification going to be live, right? So it's a live modifier. Next one we're going to talk about is this one, which is going to be circle. This one is really useful and it's fantastic for creating circles out of verts. Let's say you have this one subdivided and you wanted to create a circle out of, let's say, these, you know, these verts. You could enable the extension, which is called loop tools, right? So go to extension and enable loop tools. And once you enable it, you can right click and go here and circle, right? Which is going to create a circle out of these verts. And this is fantastic because it's brilliant for creating circular shapes and cuts for sub D, right? Because now all I need to do is basically, you know, bevel this this edge here to create some kind of, you know, security loops. So I'm gonna run one here and one more I want to run here, and then I can subdivide this and you see it's going to create a really beautiful circular cut. With HardOPS, what you can do, you can do it out of a vert. So if you have a vert in the middle like this, you can go to Q in circle and you can create that. So if you have a denser mesh, right, you can use these edges to connect them. So watch, circle, boom, scroll your mouse to adjust the number of the verts. And now you could actually use this tool we talked about that I told you not to use, the edit multi-tool, right? You could press J and very easily connect them. So just click and drag. It's gonna very easily connect them to, I just press space to confirm. And then you just, you know, insert this and you get the same situation. So it's an interesting tool, yeah? I sometimes use it. If you work in a sub D, that's brilliant, okay? And it's also gonna work, you know, on, let me show you, okay? So let's say you have a plate and a plane, and we're gonna subdivide it multiple times, and we're going to select the these vertices on the edge here, and then I'm going to invert it with Control I. Then I'm gonna go to checker and checker deselect, and then when you're gonna run, where is it? You're gonna run circle on it. Here, boom, right? Just scroll down. Yeah, you see, and you can create something like this, which is pretty bloody cool. And there you go. So, you know, you can create some interesting stuff, okay? Next one is gonna be dice. We talked about dice already, so there's no point of talking about it in here. 2Shape, we talked about it. I don't see why 2Shape is in edit mode. It makes no sense to me, but you can still create shapes out of it in some way. It's a bit confusing, to be honest, because you're gonna be creating, you know, stuff like this, which is a basically flattened, you know, flattened sphere. I don't know why would you need that, but you can if you want to. So, you know, you can use 2Shape in a edit mode as well. And you can obviously select multiple faces, so, you know, just experiment with it, and I never really found it useful. This one, however, is extremely useful, okay? Now, the basic behavior of this EM macro is when you click this, you're gonna get this kind of a stuff. Scroll mouse in and out to, you know, add or deduct them. You can move them outside or inside. You can also press S to scale them. So you can create, for example, something like this, which is pretty cool. Like, you know, floor pattern, right? Now, if you want to run it on a different face, just be careful because this tool will create a bunch of verts here in the edge, right? So you can't really select this because it requires quads, okay? See that? requires quads. So what you want to do is you want to inset this just a little bit, okay? And then you want to obviously nuke these verts. So, you know, you would need to basically dissolve them. So here and dissolve verts, right? And connect this one with a J. And then you can run this on this side, okay? So that's how you go around this problem, all right? Next one is gonna be, just go here, it's gonna be great. And by the way, you can find all these great in our panel and all that. You can find them under operations, mesh tools here. It's the same thing, all right? So I don't know why it's called mesh tools, because we have mesh tools here and then we have, you know, mesh tools here. So, and it's different mesh tools. There's no space. It's confusing. So be careful. It's not the same thing. Okay. So next one's going to be knurl. And if you control click this, you're going to get this kind of effect, right? So you're going to have a triangular effect. And also you can press F to flatten it and you can do stuff like that, right? So that's another one. And then you have plating. So here, this one, shift click, right? So panel edge. I'm going to show it to you on this side. So it's going to take this edge and panel it while extruding. So watch, shift click and boom, right? And you can hold control to change the thickness. You can press S, right? Or A to change the shape of it if you want to, right? So that's that. And the last one is panel face. So instead of paneling the edge, it's gonna panel the whole face, and you can also scale it. And when you actually hold control, it's gonna add this kind of like a securing loop, similar to, you know, to this bevel, right? So when you run a bevel like this, press P, and then you click A, similar kind of a situation, like a parameter bevel. So there you go, and that's how it works. So that's basically a macro, and the last one is the same thing. So I don't know why they have, you know, it's also panel face, just different shortcut. I don't know why, but it's there. Mesh tools. Now the first one doesn't really work, it's grayed out, and you need a curve and a face to extrude along the curve. It doesn't really work, so, you know, just ignore it. Next one's gonna be flatten face. So you can select two faces and flatten this one to this one, okay? So go here to mesh tools and flatten face and boom. And you can choose, you know, active face or individual faces, whichever you want to. There we go. So active is better because it's more logical. It's kind of similar tool that you have with Align. I mean, you could do this with very quickly and easily with machine tools. Let me show you, okay? So if you have this situation when you want to flatten a mesh like that, what you want to do is use Align tools, okay? It's quicker, Alt-A, you know, you don't have to go to a menu. You need to enable Align Pi in machine tools, and using Alt-A view-based Pi menu, which works with verts, which works with, you know, edges, anything. So if I want to, for example, align this vert, let me just grab another vert here. So watch, I want to align this vert to this one. I'll do Alt A, and then this one to this one, Alt A, right? So you can very easily align stuff. And the same with edges, right? I can just align them like this. And obviously with faces. So if you have a face like that, all you need to do is just press Alt A, move your mouse to the top and release. And you get other options here. Very quick tool. So this flatten tool from HardOPS is, you know, a bit 1975 to be honest, but there you go, it's there. Next one is gonna be this one, align face to mesh, and honestly I would be aligning this using machine tools. I have no clue how this tool works. I never used it in my life, but what you need to do in order to actually, you know, enable it, you need to have two meshes selected, and you need to select at least, let me just deselect everything, select three verts here and the other mesh, right, the active mesh, and then you're gonna be able to see that. But it just comes up with an error. So I don't know if it's bugged or it just doesn't, you know, wasn't updated, but it's extremely fiddly. I would just, you know, forget about it. I'm telling you, use machine tools because this thing is crazy. Watch this, right? If I want to align this back to my mesh, all I need to do is just, you know, Alt A in the view mode. Grab these two, align them to the top, then grab these two, align them here, and I'm back in the cube. See what I mean? It's so quick and so intuitive. So don't worry about HardOPS alignment, just use machine tools, okay? Next tool is gonna be allowing you to align vertices to one another. So let's say you got this vert somewhere here in space and you wanted to align them, you know, all of these three, create a line, right? So you can go here to Q and align vertices and click, and then you obviously have some options here. But, you know, that's how it's gonna get aligned, right? which is exactly the same tool as you have in machine tools. So again, Alt A, which is the alignment tool, and straighten, and you got the same effect. So, you know, it's quicker to use machine tools, okay? I'm just saying, for alignment. So, you know, learn how to use these tools instead because they're extremely powerful for hard surface modeling. And with machine tools, I don't need any other tools for alignment. That's how powerful it is, okay? Now, next tool is gonna be actually quite useful, and that one is called selection to boolean. Do you remember this tool when we had this cutter, right, running on the mesh, and we went to mesh tools and used face extract to select these faces, right, and create a boolean out of them, right? So this tool is, this tool is exactly the same, but it's actually working on existing geometry. So if you have faces selected, go here to operate to mesh tools and then selection to boolean. You can run a boolean based on, press A, the same behavior, okay? It's literally the same behavior. And you get 1, 2, 3 profiles, solidification, etc. You can Alt Z to look through the mesh, all the same tools, right? So there you go. That's how it works. So that's your selection to boolean. This one is actually quite useful, especially when you want to create some booleans out of a selection on your mesh. Right? Let's say, for example, that you have some kind of a shape here like this. So let me just run a loop here like that, and you have a, I don't know, let's say you have a chamfer here, right? And then you grab this one and this face, and you have it inserted like this, right? And you taper it, and you wanted to use this face, exactly that face, as a boolean. That's when you're gonna be using this, right? You see what I mean? That's really useful. So it's a very cool tool, very powerful, and you can, allow you to work very quickly with geometry. All right, cool. Next one. So let's go to mesh tools and see what we have here. Edit multi-tool. Where again, this one I would just suggest you not use it because, like I said, I would suggest you use NSolve instead, especially that this tool hasn't been worked on in ages. Okay, so don't worry about it, just get NSolve, right? And then you get align tool, we already talked about it, to floor, we talked about it, and clean borders. Now this is going to clean borders of faces from unnecessary verts. So for example, if you have some, I don't know, let's say you have, let's grab a cube, right? So you got this and you have some unnecessary verts. Let me just grab this one and subdivide it, right? This, this edge. So you got this unnecessary verts here. Select this face, go here and clean. You're gonna clean these verts. You can do it with machine tools quicker, okay, again. So if you're going to subdivide it again, all you need to do is machine tools, press 3 and you're done, right? And in addition to this, you got more options because like you remember we were cleaning the faces when we ran this 360 tool. So when I ran the 360 tool in one of the previous videos, right? We went to mesh tools 360 and we had these faces in the middle, yeah? And we simply cleaned them up with, after applying, obviously, Operation Smart Apply, we cleaned them with machine tools, so 3, and then go here and clean the faces, and the faces were gone, right? So let me just run a bevel here. I don't know why it didn't get cleaned one more time. So cube, then operations, no, mesh tools, and 360, right? Let's just scroll it. Then let's go to Operation Smart Apply, and then we're gonna get these faces in the middle, right? Here. See that? So select everything in edit mode 3, then go here and clean the faces. That didn't work for some reason. That's interesting. And it's 4.2. Wait a minute, maybe my machine tools isn't correctly updated here, but let me just go here to 4. Let's go to 4.4 and let's run it again just for the shits and giggles. So go to modify mesh tools 360 and let's apply this, right? Operation Smart Apply. So we got these faces inside, right? Which shouldn't be there, by the way. There we go. So now let's go to edit mode and 3, and then we're going to clean the faces. And now it removed the faces correctly. Something is bugged in 4.0 with machine tools. But anyway, so it's quicker with machine tools, much quicker and much more powerful than with this tool. So, use that instead, okay? Now this would cover everything you need to know about this panel here, the mesh tools, and you can see, by the way, I'm in 4.2 and I have Nsolve installed. If I'm going to turn it on, these are not, by the way, all the options. This is just simply something my custom UI of the tools I'm using personally, but there are more tools than this. And there's also an Nflow add-on built into it. So do not use this edit mesh tool or multi-tool, whatever it's called. You just use Nsolve. It's far, far, far more superior and actually works really well. There are a lot of great tools that this tool doesn't even have, okay? And then for cleanups and alignment, use machine tools. I got two massive videos on machine tools on my channel. I'm going to link them here. I'm going to show you the thumbnails. It's tools and pie menus, okay? 1 hour each, watch them. You will know how to use this add-on. You need machine tools in your life, okay? Trust me, don't use cleanup tools and alignment tools from HardOPS. Use machine tools. They are far more superior and far quicker than HardOPS. And all you need to do, remember, you need to install all these, machine tools, pie menus and tools in order for this to work, because machine tools comes with all these things disabled. So these are my default tools. So you can see cleanup here. This is the one that allows you to click 3 and clean the mesh instead of going, into the mesh tools and looking for the cleanup tool. This one on clean borders, it's just so much quicker. So again, don't use these tools. Get Nsolve and machine tools. Machine tools is like $5, but I encourage you to get the Deus Ex version, which is much better, because $10, and Nsolve is like $20 or something. So it's additional $30, but trust me, you will thank me when you get them. Okay. So there you go. I mean, this video is a bit long, so I think we're going to talk about operations in the next video. So we're going to go from here down in the next video. So I'll see you in part 2.